motion man. Fields keeps it. Touchdown, Ohio State. Play fake. Fields sets up. Goes for the home run. Down the field. Wide open. Chris Olave. Touchdown, Buckeyes.
It's clean and an excellent play by Shaun Wade.
Whitehead punting from inside his own 5. And it's blocked. Out of bounds. Safety for Ohio State. Fields. Touchdown, Buckeyes. This time, it's K.J. Hill.
Formation, they love to run crossing routes from this.
3rd down and 6. They'll run Dobbins around the corner. Dobbins looking for the first down. He has it, and more. Still a move. Dobbins. Touchdown, Buckeyes. What a run by J.K. Dobbins. Drive to the second half for the Bucs. And Fields looking in the end zone. Touchdown, J.K. Dobbins.
There's just a difference when you get one of those dudes. How about this one?
Teague breaks a tackle on his way. Master Teague, touchdown, Ohio State. 3rd down and goal at the 7. Ramsey wants to throw it. Does, and intercepted Damon Arnett. Watch out. Damon Arnett breaks across the field. Damon Arnett still on the move. Damon Arnett staying in school. Chris Carter said you weren't ready. Well, hey, Hall of Famer, I'm getting ready. 97 yards.
Another great Saturday! This is freaking amazing. I mean, I don't think most Buckeye fans were expecting how this season has started. Now, I don't think Buckeye fans were expecting it to be bad, but not this good. And so it's definitely exceeded expectations on almost all levels of what we were expecting. Especially with Indiana. Usually we have a tough time with Indiana. Not this time. So I think the scary thing about it is it's surpassing expectations, but it's like, okay, when is the ball going to drop? Because this is life, and in life the ball always drops. So it's like, when's that going to take place? Because I don't think we could have asked for a better season opener 3 games like this. So, as you can remember, my score prediction for this game was 49-28. And if you watch my last video, which you can see in the poll up here, I said that when it came to my offensive score, the Ohio State score, I was always guessing like 7 points underneath what I thought it was going to be, or what the actual score was. And so I was just going to add 7 to whatever I thought, and so that's what I did in this game. So I was thinking we'd score somewhere around 42. So I just added 7 to 49, and lo and behold, we had 51. So that score was awesome. I was almost exactly on point with the Ohio State score, but once again, I'm just completely off with the other team's score. And I think that's because I'm fucking traumatized from last year's defense. But this defense is turning out to be looking good. I mean, even Damon Arnett, out of all the fucking people, had a great game. And a bunch of people who were like pundits for Ohio State are saying, see, Damon Arnett is really good. Damon Arnett and all these people, and like saying like Ohio State fans are chumps for getting on Damon Arnett so much. No, Damon Arnett is bad. He's been bad. He's been bad. He's been bad. So don't act like now that he made a good game or had a good game that we are somehow stupid for judging him that way. No, he is notoriously fucking up. Except this game. This game, you got to give Damon props because he had a pick 6. He was actually in coverage pretty well, which is usually his main problem, is he's getting crushed. And it wasn't just last year, it was the year before that as well. So they say, oh, it's the system. Well, maybe it was the system, but Sheffield, even though he got burnt a lot because they would, catch the ball, he was at least in position. Damon Arnett wasn't even in position last year. So enough of that rant. But give props to where props is due for Damon Arnett. He kicked ass this weekend, so it was a great Saturday appearance from the Buckeyes, and the defense is just showing up and they're looking good. Chase Young had like 2 or 3 sacks again. Like I think he's up to 5 or 6 or something like that on the year in 3 games. He's just unstoppable. Even our new freshman Zach Harrison got in and he freaking had a sack at the end of the game. It was freaking awesome. It was just like candy treats all freaking Saturday long. Well, for me, again, I'm watching it at 3 in the morning. I think I went to bed at 5 when it finally finished. Our offense had 506 total yards. You gotta love it when you're in the 500s. And our passing offense was 214 yards, which is a little bit lower than last week, but anytime you're over 200 yards is good. But our rushing yards were 306, thanks to Mr. J.K. Dobbins running his ass off. For the second game in a row, he has been showing that he is the J.K. Dobbins of old, which I think more importantly is a great surprise about this team too, is the offensive line. We were really worried because we had a lot of new faces, people who hadn't played that much. But so far, granted, we haven't played anybody with a great defensive line yet. We're pushing people around and making holes so that JK can run, and I'm loving it. I'm loving that the offensive line is not, underachieving, but they're actually overachieving expectations. So overall, great. And finally, the only kind of possible critique we could have of this game is Mr. Justin Fields was a little bit off. He was 14 for 24, which is like 58% completion percentage. And a lot of those would have been a lot higher or been completed if he actually didn't just not throw the ball well. In his post-game interviews and since, he's been talking about how he felt like he wasn't planting his feet, and that's why he was kind of missing those throws. But that would at least been maybe, I think there was probably 4 throws that it was his fault that they didn't catch the ball. And there was 2, like the one that Olave caught that was going out of bounds that they originally called out of bounds, that saved him from another incompletion because he threw it wrong. That he would have been 20 for 24 maybe. If he would actually made those throws. So 20 for 24, or actually 14 for 24, with 199 yards passing is still pretty good for an off game for Justin Fields. So I think if that's the worst game that he has, I'm pretty happy with that. So there's really not much else to say other than we've took Indiana like it was nothing. I mean, 51-10. That doesn't usually happen. Now, yeah, it just doesn't usually happen with Indiana. Usually with Indiana, especially in Bloomington, we usually have a hard time. But maybe this Jason Day era is not going to have a lapse, hopefully. Like one game, Urban Meyer every year seemed to have a lapse, his team. But hopefully Jason Day doesn't do that. So let's move on and talk about the next game, because this is going to be rather quick as well. 3 games down, and that's 3 W's with scores that are pretty healthy. But we got to move on to Miami of Ohio, and I'll explain this in a minute, but I don't think this is going to be even something we should even wink at, and ESPN agrees with us. But before that, if you haven't seen my past videos, you should look at them for my kind of intuition about what's going to happen in the coming games on the schedule that you can see. I put X's next to 4 teams, and those X's just mean teams that I think we could possibly lose a game to. And so the first one, I used to have Nebraska, but I'm not really nervous about Nebraska anymore. They haven't been playing very well. Taylor Martinez doesn't look all that great. Michigan State looked really horrible this last weekend. They lost to Arizona. And that makes me feel like I'm not as worried about them. I don't know. I'm always worried about Michigan State, so I always put an X next to Michigan State. I put an X next to Wisconsin because I think that Wisconsin will give us a game now. I at first wasn't that worried about them because I thought if we stop the run, we'll be good. But I still think I'm pretty confident after watching us that we shouldn't have too much of a problem with Wisconsin if we play the way we've been playing, of course. And then I had an X next to Maryland, and Maryland looked like shit after like crushing everybody, which is the reason I put an X next to the name in the first place. And Penn State didn't look that good either. Penn State barely beat Pitt. So it's just kind of like if we play our game the way we've been playing, I feel like the Big Ten either is down this year or they've not been playing up to their potential, because we should be able to go undefeated. I don't see how that's, unless, again, I might obviously put an X next to Michigan after this week when they play Wisconsin if they beat them and their offense actually looks better than what it has been. But other than that, I'm going to start taking away X's because I don't feel like it's that scary against any team. I mean, we'll have games, obviously, but not something that we shouldn't be able to win in hand if we keep playing the way we're playing. As you can see, ESPN gives us a 98% chance of winning this next game. Miami of Ohio, though they are from Ohio, and I actually had a few friends that graduated from Miami of Ohio. It's a great school. It was always called like the rich kid school. OU was like the poor kid school. Cincinnati was like the ghetto school, or at least it was. I don't know if it's changed. It's been a while, but obviously this is not going to be a problem. I think this is going to be a nice restful game. The idea is I hope nobody gets hurt. That is the key. Please, nobody get hurt in this game. So I'm basically going to give a score for this game as 56 to 10. 56 to 10. And the only reason I'm giving them 10 points is because I think probably by maybe the end of the second quarter, almost halftime, and definitely in the third, our second and third strings are going to be in there. And when the second and third strings are going to be in there, I think they're going to score a touchdown and maybe a field goal. So I think in the first half with our first team, I don't think they're going to score any points. I think they're going to get shut down completely and maybe get a field goal. So I'm going to give them 10 points because of the first teams not being in most of the time. And our goal is just not to get anybody hurt in this game. Please, nobody get hurt. So hopefully Justin is taken out pretty quickly. Gets up some numbers, though, so we can keep in the Heisman race. And then we have Chugunov and Gunnar Hoke as the next player in, and they can get some good time to prep for maybe later games. So once again, my score prediction for this is 56 to 10, and we'll see how close we are on this one. As always, please like and subscribe, and look for more Ohio State content coming in the future. And there's also lots of other things like music reactions and counseling stuff. So talk to you later. Go Bucks.